Of the Oceanside City Council to order and start with a roll call, please.
Mayor Weiss.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Feller.
Here.
Councilmember Keim.
Here.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Here. If you would please stand with me and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'd like to invite those of you who are here for Workplace Equity Day. Please come forward. I just get to hold this. I don't smell.
Is anyone else here who wants to stand for workplace gender equity?
The hint.
Well, I am Heo Kim. I'm the Executive Director of the Kim Center for Social Balance. We're a San Diego nonprofit, and we are focused on creating workplace gender equity throughout the county to put San Diego County on the map and at the forefront of economic and social prosperity in our country. Thank you very much, Mayor Weiss, or Peter Weiss, and council members for the honor of receiving this proclamation and commendation. We are excited to stand before the city of Oceanside on behalf of everyone who's helping to make gender justice a cultural reality. The Kim Center aims to unite every city, organization, and individual around a vision, a world where employees of all genders take equal respect and fair opportunities for success for granted. Thank you for bringing us one important step closer.
And if I could have Carrie Dale join me for San Diego County Water Authority proclamation.
Good evening. Tonight's proclamation is in honor of the San Diego County Water Authority, who is celebrating their 75th year. And it is for foundational and far-reaching contributions to the region's economy and quality of life since their formation in 1944. And the San Diego County Water Authority is the water wholesaler in San Diego. Oceanside is one of 24 member agencies that purchases imported water from the Water Authority. Currently, it's about 85 to 90% of our water supplies that come in from the Water Authority. And there's a lot of whereases here, but I'll just cut to the chase. It says, now therefore be it resolved that on behalf of the entire City Council, I, Peter Weiss, Mayor of the City of Oceanside, California, do hereby proclaim that the Water Authority is an indispensable part of San Diego County's history and an invaluable part of its future as the region's trusted water leader.
Thank you. Ryan. And at this time, I'll turn this over to Ryan for the Oceanside Board Riders Club.
Yes. If I could call up the Oceanside Board Riders Club. The Oceanside Board Riders Club is a new group comprised of many of our community leaders with the purpose of using surfing, which so many of us in this community have grown up with and has been a positive force in our lives, to help and better the community. So I want to turn it over to Jamie Stone, who can tell you a little bit more about it.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the City Council and the Mayor and everyone here
for recognizing us today. We're a newly formed nonprofit, Oceanside Board Riders Club, and our goal is simply to represent and grow our community through the surfers here in the city. We're going to do a lot of things for the community, a lot of giving back financially, as well as doing beach cleanups and things of that nature to help protect our beaches, not only for the people of Oceanside, but the tourism and future generations. So thank you, guys.
Mr. Mullen?
Thank you. The City Council met earlier in closed session on the following items. Item 1, conference with labor negotiator involving the status of negotiation with the Oceanside Police Officers Association non-sworn. There's no action to report on item 1. Council also met on item 2, Gabriel Jimenez versus City of Oceanside Workers' Compensation case number 17131-664. Council did meet. They gave direction. There's no action to report at this time. Item 3A, conference with real property negotiator involving the 2.0-acre vacant parcel of land on Vista Way at Lyle Street, APN 165-49347. Negotiating parties are City of Oceanside and Shara Crockett Incorporated, DBA Pacific Group. Under negotiations are price and terms for the sale of the property. Again, the council did meet and give direction on that item, but there is no action at this time to report under the Brown Act. Finally, item 3B, conference with real property negotiator involving a portion of the El Corps zone property, APN 162-08251. Negotiating parties are the City of Oceanside and the Ivy Ranch Development Company. Under negotiations are price and terms for the exchange of the property. Again, council met, gave direction. There's no action under the Brown Act at this time to report.
We'll go to our consent calendar. Do we have any?
Yes, we do. Item 13 has been pulled by the public.
And then I would like to pull item 34 as well.
Mayor.
I need to recuse myself from item number 7. I'd like to pull item number 33 and move approval for balance.
And I don't want to pull it, but I want to register a no vote on item 25 as I think it's one more big mistake.
We have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0 with the items being pulled.
Go to item 13, which is an amendment for the professionals agreement with HDL. Who?
Amber Newman.
Good evening. Amber Newman. I oppose extending this contract. HDL's work thus far for the city has been shoddy at best. One example, in their analysis of the original cultivation applications, HDL cited to Bureau of Cannabis Control regulations in the Cultivation Security Plan comments. But the BCC does not regulate cultivation, and their reference to those sections shows HDL's lack of understanding of the licensing process. Further, as an outside consultant with the authority designated by the city, HDL reviewed applications and awarded the highest scoring points to 4 entities, either controlled, owned, or on property leased by or leased from the Milano family. One of those property leased licenses was awarded to a California corporation that is suspended by the Secretary of State and not able to conduct business in California. Bringing to another example is an instance where HDL was unable to distinguish between a flowering canopy and a nursery canopy. And then they improperly advised the city that the applicant had excessive canopy space when actually they didn't. And yet another example is where the city awarded a license, cultivation license, to an entity that stated that they needed to find funding to complete their project, where other applicants that were scored lower had sufficient funding, and the ability to fund a project was a key scoring element of the application process. As a result of these errors and others, we have kind of heard a little rumbling that the city is on the verge of being sued for the abuses that occurred with the HDL scoring process of these applications. As a result, I believe that it would be unwise for the city to continue to retain their services. It's certainly not something that I think the city should be rushing into. So, thank you.
Madam City Manager, is there someone from staff that could address that?
Am I on? Okay. Honorable Mayor and City Council members, Megan Crooks with the Development Services Department. I have been staff responsible for facilitating the licensing program and working firsthand with the consultants with HDL. And I do believe that their performance with the city has been exemplary. They have advised us due to best practices that have been followed within the jurisdictions of the state of California, as well as what they have learned from states of Colorado and Washington, and that is the best practice for the city of Oceanside to continue to follow. In regard to specific comments on the applications that were reviewed, I don't have my notes for those applications here with me this evening, so I couldn't comment on the specific items, but they have been reviewed by staff through interview processes, as well as by the consultant, being HDL, for their written application report to the city, and they were based on a scoring criteria rating, and while some may have ranked lower in certain areas, they may have ranked higher in other areas, and that balanced their score out at the end to bring them to a prevailing score.
Thank you. Councilmember Sanchez?
Thank you. Ms. Newman suggested that one of the applicants is not able to operate in the state of California. Are you able to talk about that application and verify that indeed that applicant is able to operate in the state of California?
I don't know which applicant they're discussing, and I would need to review those applications to look at the specifics, but we do have applicants that submitted their businesses being registered out of state, and they were considered foreign entities, but they had registered them with the state of California, and that was deemed an allowable and authorized business to operate in the state of California.
Oh, I am concerned by that comment. I would, if this goes through, I would like to condition approval that they are actually able to operate their business in the state of California, and if not, then that application should be disqualified.
Mr. Mullen?
Councilmember Sanchez, Mayor and members of the council, the local license that will be issued to these applicants clearly requires them to have all state licenses that are required already. So I don't think it's anything that you need to add. It's in the statute that we're operating under in Chapter 7 of the Oceanside City Code. It'll be in the local licenses that are issued, and then remember that this is the first of two stages that we're going through in terms of the regulatory process. There is the local license that is administered through the city manager's office, and then there will also be the land use process, which is a conditional use permit, and so we have an opportunity to make sure everything is in order prior to the approval of the CUPs. If it's not now, but I would assume that it already is now. We'll be happy to reach out and talk to Mrs. Newman about which application she's referring to see what the specifics are. I don't know which one now, so I can't answer that question.
Okay. And then could you, Megan, address the question regarding the 4 on the Milano? That's 300 acres. That's the largest landowner, farm owners in South Monroe Hills, which means they have a lot of land to be able to lease out. So could you explain the process, and did you in any way, was there in any way at any point more points allotted to that the applicants simply because they were doing it via a lease of farmland owned by the Milanos. I just want to make sure that we're very clear that what the criteria was, and no one received special treatment.
Nobody received special treatment. The applications were all reviewed individually and on their own merit, as written, on their own merit.
Mr. Berger, do you have anything else to add?
Yes, Honorable Mayor and City Council members, as was mentioned earlier, this is a multi-step process.
Right.
So not only were the applications reviewed independently in terms of meeting the minimum criteria and receiving scores through that process, but there was actually in-person interviews as well with the operators of all the locations. And to Megan's point, the process, and I was a part of the interview process, was an absolutely unbiased process, and the ownership of the land had virtually nothing to do with the final scoring, but it was just an accumulation of all the different steps in the process.
That was not a criteria, then it was focused on the business.
It was focused on the business, but it was also focused on the location as well, and so that was
the permitted locations.
The permitted locations, and it just so happened that in this particular case that location scored high because of the surroundings and for a variety of other physical factors, but had nothing to do with the ownership of the property.
Okay.
Mr. Mullen?
Just to clarify, obviously what's before you tonight is just the contract and whether to
Right.
extend the contract or not.
Right.
We are coming back to you in August for an item to update you on where we're at with all of these license applications. As you know, there was a cap of 5 cultivation
Right.
licenses imposed by the council. So one of the questions that we're going to ask you then is, what do you want to do with that cap? Because there's licensees or that are seeking licenses that are on the waiting list. And so we're going to have to make the determination in August when we're noticed to do it about how to proceed.
Okay. And I do apologize to my colleagues. There were certain concerns voiced, and I thought it was important to address them. At this point, it sounds like that this is just part of the process, and staff is committing to address the issues that have been brought up. So I'm going to go ahead and move approval of that item.
Councilmember Rodriguez? I was just going to move approval. I second. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
We'll do item 33, which is the approval of the plans and specifications for the beachfront improvements.
That was, I pulled it mostly to, again, say I'm really, really happy about this project going forward, but that in a way, in an addendum, really proud to have received information from our new Assembly member, Tasha Borner-Horvath, who basically has indicated to us that the state budget does include $8 million for this project, which is the entire amount, and that is the beachfront improvements. We're talking about the bathrooms and not just for the. It also includes Tyson Park, and I'm just really, really happy that we got this through the state. I can't even remember. It's been definitely over 2 decades that we've gotten something like this, at this level. We're also getting $250,000 our share of homelessness, and $1 million to Maricosta for veterans. But as to this, just wanted to publicly thank our new Assembly member Tasha for really working really hard for Oceanside in making this happen. Apparently, the governor still has to sign the budget, so we're crossing fingers and toes, right? But that also means that this $8 million will become again available through Measure X funding, which had originally been approved for this. So I'm really, really excited about this, and I go ahead and move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
And item 34 is adoption of a resolution authorizing the city to apply and receive grant funds in the amount of $13 million. I had asked for that to be pulled because as part of this action, if you read the staff report, it's essentially committing the city to spend almost $50 million in funds for a pure water project. And I just had a question of staff in regards to, one, what is the pure water project going to do? And then where's the city going to come up with its $50 million to pay for it?
Honorable Mayor and council members, Carrie Dale, Water Utilities Director. I'm going to have Lindsay Leahy, our principal water engineer, talk a little bit about the project, and then I'll chime in related to rates and the costs.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members. So just a brief overview of the Pure Water Project. So Council has set a goal for the Water Utilities Department to increase our local water supply to 50% by the year 2030. So the Pure Water Project is a direct project to try and meet that goal. Currently, Oceanside has a local water supply of 10% that comes from our Mission Basin, which is an aquifer that we are very lucky to have here. And an aquifer is essentially an underground lake that holds water that we are able to remove and currently treat and have been for many years. Oceanside has about a 1% use of recycled water, so we're only about at 11% of local supply. And we currently import 89% of our water from up to 600 miles away. So there are a lot of costs involved with that. Pure Water Oceanside would increase our local water supply to 32% solely from this project and its future expansion. And what that is taking a water source that we currently have, our recycled water source, treating it up to 6 additional times, injecting it back into our groundwater basin, which would replenish that groundwater level, which increases the quality and the quantity of that water and keeping that aquifer healthy for years to come. We will then pull that water back out where we currently have a treatment process for that. So that's an existing process and plant at our Mission Basin groundwater purification facility. We would treat it again with reverse osmosis and then would distribute that to the city.
And in regards to the cost of the project, it is quite shocking when you see a lot of zeros. With this project, $50 million is certainly a lot of money to spend for a project, but we feel a very compelling business case to put forward the project. We've been planning for the expenses related to a project of this magnitude for about the last 8 or 9 years. And our intent in planning for a project like this is to really smooth the rates. And we're anticipating, as we mentioned in the budget workshop and during the public hearing for the budget, a 3% increase in each of the next 2 years, as well as several years out into the future. We're looking out into about a 10 to 11 year time horizon to look at what the impacts will be on the rates. We typically won't see a lot of the savings on projects like this until we're well into construction or have completed construction and the project is operational for 5 to 10 years. But we are anticipating some monies coming in from some grants, and we've already submitted applications with the Prop 1 grant with the state of California. Tonight's action is asking for money from the Bureau of Reclamation. There's also an application that was submitted to Metropolitan for a local resource program offset, and that's paying us back for every acre foot of water that we would produce. And we're also going after a federal loan program called WIFIA, which really provides some very low cost funding for the project. We did also run a scenario where if in the absence of implementing a project like this, what would the rates look like? And there is a significant cost savings over the 11-year term in terms of implementing this project. So you will see quite a few actions in the next 6 months coming from the department, bringing forward the grants, bringing forward the loans. So it does have a very compelling, positive business case to implement.
Thank you. So essentially, in supporting a project like this, eventually the ratepayers are going to be paying through higher rates to pay for something like this.
Yes, with savings on the back end.
On the back end, yes. Councilmember Sanchez?
Right, thank you. And that's what I had understood, is that we have to make this investment in order to be able to provide our own water and be as sufficient as possible without relying completely on, you know, we have a goal of 50%. Who knows, maybe it can go higher. But it is really keeping in mind our future needs and the growth of our city, and the fact that, yes, it is going to cost something in the short term, but in the long term, we're going to be able to save, and we'll be able to be relying less and less on regional water. With the costs are, you know, certainly going up and up, and desal continues to be the highest cost of water out there. So, so I'm going to go ahead and move approval.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
In our future here.
From my understanding, item 34, we're just moving forward on authorizing the city to apply and receive these grant funds toward the project. Is that correct?
Councilmember Rodriguez, we're applying for the grants, and what will happen then is it goes through a competitive process, and we'll be notified in about 6 months whether we're successful in a portion or all of the ask.
Got it. Thank you. I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
We'll go to item 49, which is an action on the Downtown Oceanside Property and Business Improvement District.
Good evening, Mayor and Council Members. Sienna Lorson, Assistant City Manager. The item before you is the first step in formation of a property and business improvement district. I'm going to provide an overview of what is a property and business improvement district, also known as a PBID, the management district plan, the formation process, city properties which are within the proposed boundary, the petitions, and our recommendation. So by way of background, our goals for downtown are to enhance safety and cleanliness, to improve the customer and visitor experience, and also to retain and attract business and investment. And to that end, Main Street Oceanside has convened a group of interested stakeholders and toured successful downtowns in Southern California, and identified that PBIDs are an effective mechanism to help provide funding and services to meet those goals. And they retained consulting services from Civitas, formed a steering committee to look at forming a PBID in downtown Oceanside. A PBID is a benefit assessment district authorized under state legislation in 1994. It is a self-imposed and self-governed private sector assessment. It provides a special benefit to assess parcels above and beyond those already provided by the city. Funds are collected on the property tax bill, and they are forwarded to a nonprofit owners association, which is the governing body for the district, and funds have to be spent pursuant to the management district plan. There are over 100 PBIDs in California, including San Diego and Long Beach being two examples. The management district plan is the governing document for the downtown Oceanside PBID. It is a specific boundary, which is shown on the map on the screen and in your packets. The management district plan provides for an annual budget of just over $500,000, with 41% of those funds devoted to maintenance activities, 33% to safety activities, 13% for economic development and capital improvement activities, 11% for administration and advocacy, and a 2% contingency reserve. Assessment rates are based on the parcel type and come to a rate of commercial condo of 25 cents per square foot, public 18.75 per square foot, and religious 12.5 per square foot. And per the management district plan, the maximum annual increase is 3% to be determined by the governing board. The duration would be for 5 years, beginning on January 1st of 2020 through December 31st of 2024. Management would be by the Downtown Oceanside PBID Governing Committee, which would be a standing committee of Main Street Oceanside. It would be comprised solely of property owners and representatives that are paying the assessment within the district. They would be responsible for managing all the assessment funds, including contracting for services. They would have full decision-making authority. However, they would be subject to both the Brown Act and the California Public Records Act per state law, and they would be required to provide an annual report to City Council on their performance. The formation process is a two-step process. The first step is what is before you tonight, which is the resolution of intention. And that would be a resolution adopted by the City Council if there are written petitions submitted by property owners who will pay more than 50% of the assessments. That then starts a balloting process pursuant to Proposition 218, which is written notice and assessment ballots mailed to all of the property owners, and that's a 45-day ballot period, which ends with a final public hearing on August 7th of 2019. At that hearing, the council would receive public testimony, and the ballots would be tabulated. Ballots in favor must exceed ballots opposed, weighed by the assessment amount in order to form the district at that time. Within the proposed boundary, there are 12 city parcels. That includes the Civic Center complex, parking lots, the Beach Community Center, and Pier Amphitheater, and some city properties that are occupied by private businesses under leases, including the Surf Museum, the Brooks Theater, and the Petite Madeleine business. The combined annual assessment for the city properties is just over $83,000. The city would be financially contributing to the PBID, and the city properties represent approximately 16.5% of the total assessment. And the City Council did approve funds in the approved fiscal year 2019-20 budget for this purpose. As of July 12th, petitions had been received from approximately 37.4% of the properties, excluding the city. As noted, the city represents about 16.5% of the total assessment. When those are added together, there are a combined total of just under 54% of petitions in favor, which does exceed the 50% threshold to move to the second phase of the balloting process. And as of today, additional petitions have been received for a total of 39.4% of the private properties, which is just under half of the private properties within the boundary. And including the city, the total would be about 56% of the total assessment. The map on the screen and also provided to each of you does highlight which properties have submitted petitions in favor, as well as in blue are the city properties, and then a few property owners who have expressed opposition were noted. And so we have a two-part recommendation. The first part would be for the City Council to authorize the city manager to execute 2 petitions on behalf of the city properties to initiate the special assessment proceedings. And the second would be to adopt a resolution of intention to initiate the balloting process. And you would need to take action in 2 separate motions so that the first action does occur prior to the second action. We do have Nathan Hyde with Civitas, the consulting firm, here to answer any technical questions, and Gamaro Escarciga, can't pronounce that very well, with Main Street Oceanside will be up now to talk about Main Street Oceanside's participation in this process. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Deanna. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Gumaro Escarcega, just to make it a little more with a little accent. So I'm the Main Street Program Manager. I was hired here, well, actually, Main Street Oceanside was founded in the year 2000 by business owners, and they created a downtown association. I was hired here in 2013 to develop partnerships and relationships with our stakeholders in downtown Oceanside. Also to continue to work on the issues impacting downtown Oceanside. Over the last 2 years, Main Street Oceanside's Downtown Economic Development Committee has been working on finding a funding mechanism to help support the improvements in downtown Oceanside. Our goal is to was to gain support from property owners to implement a cleaning safe program, and which services are highlighted on the management district plan. In the last 10 months, we formed a PBID steering committee with excited property owners to give us input to compile the management district plan. that will benefit their properties. We did the following outreach to make sure that we didn't leave anybody out. Unfortunately, we didn't reach everybody, but we did mail stakeholders an invitation to our service plan open house in January. And then we also had an open policy on Mondays, open door policy on Mondays, to extend our hours to meet with certain stakeholders, which we did meet a couple stakeholders during the month of February to May of this year. We also did a second mailing on May 24th, and that is to notify owners about the petition drive that we're currently at right now. We also received verbal support from additional stakeholders, but did not submitted a petition. Also, we had face-to-face conversations, we had email exchanges, and also had a lot of phone calls during the last 3 to 4 weeks. Main Street Oceanside staff, committee, and stakeholders agree that downtown Oceanside P-bid will be a positive impact in downtown Oceanside for the cleanliness and safety of our downtown, or for the consumers that we have in our district. The self-assessed monies will be invested to secure our current and future stakeholders' investment. And I would like to take the time right now to highlight some of our supporters that are here in the stand, so if they can please stand to see who's here to support this P-bid initiative. And if you guys have any questions, I'm here to answer any questions. And Nate's here to answer any technical questions. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have public?
Yes, we do. We have 2 speakers, Brenda Batali, followed by Richard Ham.
Hello, my name is Brenda Batali, and I live at Oceanside Terraces, and right next to the Regal Theater. First of all, I want to say that we really do appreciate what Main Street has done for the city. They do a great job by having our monthly meetings and with the street fair that we have. So we're very proud of what Main Street has done. However, with regard to the bid program, I think that many of the large stakeholders who have supported that are the newer buildings, the Pierside and the hotels that are wanting to be caregivers to our city and be a friend to our city, but they really don't realize that we are so fortunate here in Oceanside. I've had so many good experiences, and you know that I've been in contact with you for other issues. This city council has been a wonderful friend to the people in Oceanside. The police have been great friends. I think you run an exemplary city as it is. The point of the bid program is to provide services that the city's not providing. I can only think of one. Now that we have our garbage cans out, which thank you for that, I think that the city could better spend that money to buy one nice steam cleaner to clean the sidewalks and have one person that would do it a couple hours every day. Now, that's the only thing that the city's not doing for us that bid would do. But our building has worked with street cleaners, washers, and there are people who rinse it off and you can't tell it's been done. If we wanted someone good, I can recommend Donato Martinez, who does the movie theater and does for us. You could talk to him and see what kind of equipment he's using. But that's the only thing that I think that we're lacking here at Oceanside. So my we are a commercial building because there's some restaurants below us, but there's many residents up there, and many of them have talked to me and said that we're not getting the benefit because we already have it. So I have to say that I'm opposed to the bid program.
Richard Ham.
Mr. Ham?
I'm Richard Ham, and with Pelican Communities, and we're one of the new buildings in town. We're almost done. Hopefully within a month we will have the SALT project opened up, which is Lot 23's mixed-use parking structure. So we've been working on this project for about 5 years, and first got into town in 2004, 2005, being attracted to this area. And what we've seen over the last 10 years, 15 years is a real renaissance in Oceanside. The downtown has been coming along wonderfully well. It's maturing. It's becoming a great place to be. Always was nice, but it's getting better all the time. And we're seeing Main Street Oceanside help out in that. The other is the 9-block master plan is finally coming together after, I don't know, 25 years. It's wonderful to see it come into place. It is changing Oceanside dramatically, and in our opinion, all to the better. We're thrilled to be here. We hope to be a long-term landowner here. We're anxious to get open, and we're supportive of this proposition for the special assessment because we think it will help maintain businesses and make businesses work better in the future and keep this momentum going that's occurring in downtown. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you. Well, I want to give tremendous applause and kudos to Main Street, Oceanside, for their commitment to the downtown. Main Street means the heart of the city, and Rick Wright and Gumaro, you guys have rocked it. I just want to say thank you so much for all the work. You know, when you first said you wanted to do a Sunset Market every week, not just during the summer, I started, I wanted to get on my knees and pray because I thought, oh my gosh, this is a huge, huge ask for this to really be successful. I mean, the first year you just said, no, we're not even going to just do the summer. We're just going to do the whole thing. And you guys just, as I said, rocked it. You know, you're the place to go on a Thursday. And I want to give you the kudos for coming up with this idea. We do sometimes get complaints about the cleanliness, and it's just something that you got to keep doing, and with more people, more foot traffic, trash is something that hopefully will, as we become closer and closer to our zero waste goals, will become less of a headache. But right now we're learning what we have to do to get there, and it's going to take a few years. But I want to thank you so much. You're in my district, and it's just like, it's a great thing. It's like, I mean, you guys just are fantastic. It's like you have been so successful. So I understand we have to do this in 2 different motions. Is that correct? So I want to go ahead and move that we authorize the petitions and adopt the resolution. So adopt the resolution second?
Yeah, the first motion should be to authorize the city manager to execute the 2 petitions to initiate the special assessment proceedings.
Okay, I'll make that first motion then.
Councilmember
I'm
Rodriguez.
anxious. I guess you guys are too.
Councilmember Rodriguez. Thank you. In spending some time looking at this in the direction that downtown is going, I think that this is a unique time and a unique chapter for Oceanside to really consider this. And, I just want to thank Main Street Oceanside for having the leadership and foresight of putting something together like this, investing your own money on a consultant to really put this together. To answer your question, ma'am, and your concern, I understand that, you live there, you're already having those benefits. But my voice here is on behalf of 2 decisions. One, to move forward on the city with the parcels that the city owns to agree to move forward on this, and 2, to allow it to go to a vote of the residents in that district. And with the ballot signatures we have back so far, at least 50%, including my support and representing the city, have agreed to, hey, let's take this to a vote. And so I respect that. And I respect the democracy in that for the owners and the business owners in downtown to make that decision to better, Thank you. You had your opportunity. Please let him finish. Yes, ma'am. So I'm personally the 16% that, as a part of my decision, I'm saying that I do agree with this because of the direction. So that's the 16, and then the other individuals that signed on. And so anyway, again, thank you. I look forward to this moving forward. I would like to second
Councilmember Sanchez's motion to get this moving forward.
Deputy Mayor Feller.
Thank you. If we can look at the front page of the item under background, it says to enhance the safety and cleanliness of downtown Oceanside in order to improve customer and visitor experiences. And then later it says, if established, the bid would generate approximately $503,000 on an annual basis for maintenance, economic development, capital improvements, and safety. And so those are two different statements, I think, and I want to make sure, first and foremost, that that our city is clean and safe. You know, that will help with the, I mentioned this earlier to the city manager, but I just want to be very aware that this isn't for more people, and it's what it does is give us service in the cleaning and the well-being of our downtown. So I want to make sure that the focus is on that. You know, whatever capital improvements that happen are probably not, they probably don't come out of the P-bid, they probably come out of the city. So I support this.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you. I'd like to make the second motion, which is to adopt the resolution of intention.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
We'll go to item 50, which is adoption of a resolution approving the compensation plan for unrepresented employees.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the City Council. Robert O'Brien, Human Resources Director. Before you this evening is a proposed updated revision to the compensation plan for unrepresented employees. The brief presentation I will be giving will provide an overview of the group's composition, the key elements of the revised compensation plan, and the estimated net new cost impact of the changes over the course of 3 fiscal years. The unrepresented group is somewhat unique in the various positions it covers, which range from support staff up onto management and executive classifications, including the city manager and the city attorney. In total, the unrepresented group is comprised of 335 employees. Now, historically, the City Council has approved changes to the compensation plan's wages and benefits that are alike with those adopted for the Oceanside City Employees Association, which is commonly referred to OCEA. The key economic elements of the recently approved OCEA agreement, which was passed earlier this evening, are equivalent to those proposed under the compensation plan for unrepresented employees. In summary, the key changes to the compensation plan are as follows. Effective the first full pay period in July of 2019, all unrepresented classifications listed in the compensation plan, including the city manager and the city attorney, will receive a base salary increase of 2.5%. In the following years, July 2020 and July 2021, these same classifications will receive increases of 2%. In line with those base salary increases, the salary schedule and salary ranges for the classifications under the comp plan will be adjusted to be commensurate with those same base salary increases. In addition, the city will increase the current biweekly contribution towards employees' 457 deferred compensation accounts to a biweekly amount of $38.46. The revised compensation plan will also detail the formal after-hours duty program for qualified information technology staff. And it will also reflect a paramedic license pay certification, which impacts one individual in the classification of assistant training officer. And then finally, in addition to the base salary wages we went over earlier, there will be a special salary adjustment, which totals just under 1% for the classification of police records manager. And this is to bring that classification in line to within 5% of the median for other San Diego County agencies. Overall, the estimated net new cost of the proposed changes to the compensation plan through the end of fiscal year 2021-22 is $1.447 million. So in conclusion, staff recommends adoption of the proposed changes for the compensation plan for the unrepresented employees effective July 1 of 2019. Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and members of the City Council, I thank you for your attention this evening, and I'll be available to answer any questions that you may have.
Is there any public? Councilmember Sanchez?
Move adoption.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion passes by vote.
So at this time, we will take a 7-minute recess until 6 o'clock and come back with our public hearing.